Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of our third season of That's So Auburn. I'm Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, and I am incredibly excited for our next guest, who we invited on the show to celebrate National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. That is a mouthful, but it's basically what it means is it's a week to celebrate all of the amazing emergency operators who we absolutely take for granted, I think, at times. We just know that if we call 911, there's going to be that steady voice on the other side, and we don't even think about what that means. So they're tasked with one of the most difficult jobs in the world, I think, and oftentimes it's a thankless job because, again, they are not able to be talking with people in their best of times. It's like other first responders. You are not seeing people at their best. So we are here today to give thanks and to learn more about what they do and why they do it. Our guest today is Vonnie Mayer. You could be Mayor.
I know, right?
One of these days, you could run for office. The executive director of Valleycom 911, who brings nearly 40 years of experience in emergency communications and public safety. She began her career in the late 1980s as one of the first civilian dispatchers at the Angle Lake Fire Department and joined Valleycom 911 in 1993. Known for her people-driven leadership, Vonnie fosters a culture of collaboration, trust, and operational excellence, and I've had the opportunity to see that firsthand on many occasions. Her career has been defined by a dedication to innovation, efficiency, and the well-being of both employees and the community, with a leadership style rooted in empathy and transparency. And again, I've seen that. She empowers teams to thrive under pressure, which, oh my gosh, I don't know of any other place where you could say that and have it be so powerful and meaningful. But she does all that while continuously enhancing public safety services. As a mentor and advocate, Vonnie prioritizes employee growth, wellness, and resilience, firmly believing that people are the heart of public service. Amen to that. Her unwavering dedication has made her a respected and influential leader in the emergency communications industry. And when she's not leading with purpose, she enjoys relaxing with family and friends on lake taps. Not a bad way to relax.
No, not.
So there's much more to get into, so stay tuned. Welcome, Vonnie. We've been talking about doing this podcast for a while now, and I'm so glad we're able to release this latest episode during, and I'm going to read this, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's such an honor to be down here. And again, I want to thank you for inviting us to the City Council meeting this past week.
Yes.
Gosh,
yes.
time flies.
It does.
I feel like I'm lucky to be down here 2 days in 1 week, but it's always an honor to be down here, and I appreciate your support and your recognition of the first responders behind the phones and the headsets.
Well, they are an amazing group of people, and I don't know how they do it. I mean, I've watched. It's kind of a dark room, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just that focus on their station, on their setup, and I don't think I could do their job. I think it takes a certain type of person to do that. What do you think? I mean, what type of skills does someone need in that role?
Definitely, it's a unique position, right? You're under a lot of pressure. You're under pressure to be under a time clock. Time is of the essence, and there's not a large margin for any error. You have to be perfect every time. So the folks coming into 911, first and foremost, I believe, have a need to serve, right? Mm-hmm. They come in because it's noble. Serving the communities, the public, the user agencies, our partner agencies, it's very important to be part of that. You're doing good, right?
Yes.
On someone's worst day ever probably is when they're accessing 911 and you're there to help them. You're that lighthouse in the storm. So that's that need to do better, to be better. And then I think it takes a lot of resilience, a lot of critical thinking skills in the sense of thinking outside the box. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have a master's degree. You don't have to have academics. You just have to have a need to serve people, a love for people, compassion, and the willingness to always be better and do better. All I ask from our team members is do better than you were the day before. Learn every day. Every day you learn something new. It's always something new in this job. I can say in almost 40 years, I learned something new when I listened to a 911 call or listened to someone dispatch.
So all of those things, I talked a little bit about your history. Tell me how you got into the field. What caused you, what stirred that fire in your heart to want to do this work?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. It was my dad. I went to college, and I was going to be a teacher. And I went to college, and it just wasn't for me. And when I came home, and it was summer, he said, well, you got to go get a job. You're not just going to lounge around until you figure out what you want to do with your life. And back then, the newspaper ad was actually in the newspaper, had an ad for a dispatcher for the Angle Lake Fire Department, which is now City of SeaTac. They had in dispatch firefighters that were either probably injured or they were assigned, and they wanted to get back to suppression. They didn't want to be dispatched. It wasn't what they signed up for. So my friend, Amy, my best friend, said, hey, you're wicked smart and you're really nosy. You should go apply for this. And so I walked into the fire station and I applied and I got the job. And it was very interesting because going in at that time in a small fire department, there wasn't a lot of structure on life-saving techniques that I could do when I said 911. So there was a chief at the time, and he called me his little yeah, but, because I would always say, yeah, but chief, can't we do it this way? Yeah, but chief. And so I wanted to do more. So as that position evolved, and back then it was me alone in the comm center, the rest of us, we worked 12-and-a-half-hour shifts. We had to take a baby monitor to the bathroom because there was no breaks.
Oh, my gosh.
We answered all of the business lines and did burn permits as well. So we did everything. So in a 12-and-a-half-hour shift, though, I would just be hoping I would get 3 calls. And now it's totally different, right? I'm in a comm center that every 47 seconds they're getting a call, which is about over 1,800 calls in a day. So quite a difference, right? From back in late 80s to now. So really, I kind of stumbled into it, but I did come from a family of service. So it was it felt like home to me. It felt like, okay, I could do this, but I want more from this. So I started being 19. You don't have a lot of boundaries,
That's true.
And
That's true.
so I started saying, I want to do better. So I became involved in the county level for 911. And back then, it was meeting with the program director and the other directors in her kitchen, right? It was kitchen. So not what it is now.
A real kitchen cabinet, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now look where we're at. We're in the legislative sessions. We are showing that 911 they are first responders. It is a profession. And so for me, while I stumbled in it, and I started when there were no CAD, which is the computer-aided dispatch, you had a pen and paper and a time clock and a radio. And I just remember saying, I want to do more. When someone calls and says, they can't wake them up, I should be able to do more instead of just saying, well, they'll be there when they can. So now, fast forward to 2025, we are the best at cardiac arrest saves. The 911 professionals are the ones that are recognizing cardiac arrest quickly. They are having the bystander initiate CPR. They're getting AEDs if on location and administering those through the phone. And that is saving lives.
That's amazing.
And it's saving lives in the fact that they are released from hospitals and they go home to live a productive life because seconds matter.
Seconds do matter. And I am just amazed by the calmness that the call receivers and dispatchers have. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine, but these are human beings, right? And you have to put aside, if you're having a bad day but a call comes in, you have to put all of your personal issues aside and focus on the call that you just received and how you're going to get the other first responders to be there on the scene. So it takes a special kind of person. I agree, the wicked smart and the curious, or I'll say curious, not nosy. I think those are amazing qualities. So you walked us through what a day looked like when you first started. Can you walk us through a typical day now, if there is such a thing?
Sure. And I like how you highlight a typical day, if there is such a thing, because it's always changing. So we have a cadence of 10-hour shifts for the comm room, but they have to work a lot of mandatory overtime because if someone is out or on vacation or sick, we don't just close down a radio or say we're not going to have that staffing to take 911 calls. So they're mandated. They could work up to sometimes 14 hours in a row.
Wow.
Which, you think about it, it is so taxing on them, right? The work-home balance can be really disruptive. So when I say these are dedicated individuals for the good of the whole, they sacrifice a lot to be on shift. They sacrifice holidays. I don't know how many years we had Thanksgiving on a Tuesday in my family because I was working, or my sister, who was also in 911, was working, right? So it's really important to highlight that they give up a lot.
Yes.
With that being said, they also get a lot of rewards from being 911. We have great support from our governance boards, our operation boards. We have a lot of support from community and partner agencies. There are good benefits, good pay, but it's a balance. And so for them, they come in. For the 911 operators, the call receivers at Valleycom 911, they come in and they sit down on a console and they're there for the console, right? Answering 911, 10-digit alarm calls, that sort of thing. All those calls come through. And then the dispatchers come in and they're assigned to either a police radio or a fire radio. So they could work Kent Police the day before and come in and work Federal Way, or work breaks, or work Fire One. So they kind of come in and they're all over the place. Mm-hmm. So 10 hours could turn into 12 hours, could turn into 14 hours.
Wow. That's a long day. And, it's kind of like doctors. I always wonder if you're really getting the best out of a person when you have them on a 36-hour shift, right? And at the end of a 14-hour shift, the expectation is that call receiver or dispatcher is doing the exact same work that they did in hour one.
Correct. And the work doesn't get easier.
No.
So for a call receiver, let's just take them. They could say 911, and it could be someone's parked in my parking spot. And then the next call they get is 911, I can't wake this person up. Mm-hmm. We can't control how they come in, right? Same with the police and fire dispatchers. Calls come ebb and flow. And what we're seeing in the South County area is more high priority calls, more critical calls, more complex calls. Mm-hmm. It's not like it was before when I said, Angle Lake Fire Department, 911, what are you reporting? And it was very cut and dry. Now there's language barriers that we have, access to. There's a lot of things we do to make sure that everyone can access 911 in the way that they need to access 911, text to 911, things like that, which has made the profession even more inclusive and better. Mm-hmm. But with that comes more complexity. And I worry about the toll it takes on our human beings, that inherent stress that I can't prevent, the trauma that I can't prevent. But I am just a supporting character to a bunch of stars on stage, right? My role is to support and make sure they have the tools necessary to be the best they can do, serve the best they can do, and have resources to take care of themselves. And so I fight very hard for the mental well-being of our folks across the center, by the way, because while the comm room is the heart of our comm center, we have many departments, technical services, critical infrastructures, finance, HR department, administrative services, records, a lot of folks that without the comm room, we wouldn't be there, but without us, they wouldn't be there, right? And so we work hard as a team, but making sure that we take care of them good EAP, paying attention to what they need. We have a robust peer support team. We have critical incident response team. And that was one thing, Mayor, lacking when I started. And as that 19-year-old kid with curiosity, I thought, what do I do after I take a call that is very difficult, and it was very hard for me. While the firefighters and the medics and the police officers went off to a debriefing, I was left out, and that wasn't acceptable. So I just kind of smiled and pushed my way into that structure. And in the late 90s, I'm proud to say we were part of that. And I did that for many years. And I'm proud of my team members that have that passion as well, and they're carrying it on. So we try to take care of the human being first, because if we take care of them, they're going to take care of everyone accessing 911 and those we serve on the radios on the other side.
Being a member of the board of governance, it's the owner cities are Auburn, Federal Way, Kent, Renton, and Tukwila.
Yes.
Right? I didn't miss any? No.
You had Federal Way.
I got it. Yeah.
5.
And being in the board meetings and seeing when you're talking about someone who you're honoring, either through anniversary dates or for some call that they went above and beyond, I see the passion and the compassion that you share. I mean, it's brought a tear to my eye more than once when you're telling the story of why you're honoring that person. And you're not just honoring that action. You are really honoring the person. And that is a gift to everyone that's hearing it, but also a gift to the person that you're honoring, because they realize that you see them as more than just 911, what's your emergency? And I wish more people were like that. I wish they could understand that people are more than just their actions, whether good or bad, that there is an entire person that needs to be nurtured. And I have seen the work that you do, and I just have to tell you, Vonnie, how much I appreciate that about you. You really bring that. You are a leader, and you do it with action and not just words.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm going to hold on to that. As someone I respect very much, those words from you mean a lot. And I can just say this, they make it easy. They are outstanding human beings. Listen, we're not perfect. We make mistakes.
None of us are.
We can do things different sometimes. I'm sure that there's some folks out there in the audience that maybe didn't have a great interaction with 911. And we do accept that. We do take accountability, and we do better. I am not looking for perfection. They have enough pressure on their shoulders, but I'm looking for them to lean in. I'm looking for them to understand if it was them or a loved one, how would they want to be treated? And they would want not only the best service, the best resource, but compassion, empathy, right?
Yes.
That's what we're all struggling with, I think, that if I could just understand where you are at, I'm going to meet you there and I'm going to help you. And they do it 99.9%. I mean, I don't have to over-exaggerate.
No.
And we are very transparent, though, and we are very, we don't shy away from conflict. And if we can do better, we will do better. And if we could learn and understand, we'll be upfront saying we could do that, and we're going to.
I love that. Vonnie, are there any particular calls throughout your career that really stand out to you? And maybe not even just yours, but any that you want to share? I know there was, it started out very scary, but the call that you mentioned when you were at the council meeting a few nights ago with Sherry?
Cheryl?
Cheryl, sorry, Cheryl.
I mean, with Cheryl, we were talking, I mean, she had another 37-year career, right? That's one thing Valleycom 911 I can kind of brag about. We have a lot of tenured employees, right? We have a lot of people that have come into our center and staying with us. So for me, I do remember my first child call in 1980s. And I won't go into it because it would be very triggering maybe to some, but I think about that call. I still hear the mom. I still hear all of it. But I do have a little bit of a funny call, if I could share.
I would love that.
And it shows the power of a mom. Now, this was a long, long time ago, so there's no, I don't think, any tie back to. But one of our cities, there was a retail store where a teenage young man decided him and his friends were going to stash his little brother in the store. Oh. So when the store closed, he could let them in, and then they would go in and do whatever they were going to do. So this little boy was about 6 years old. So they have him hide in the store. Well, they don't realize it has a silent alarm, right? So as soon as the little boy opens the door, the alarm goes off, but they don't know. So they're in the store, police arrive, the older boys run out, and the little boy runs in and he hides. He was hiding very well. And so long story short, they were saying, you have to come out, and he was really scared. And they said, we have a dog with us, you have to come out. And he said, I'm scared of dogs, and they would have never.
No, of course not.
But they wanted him to know because the dog was barking, right? Because the canine unit was there because we didn't know what was going on. And so by that time, his mom had arrived. And she was really upset. So she first took after the teenage son and then was trying to get the younger son out. And they said, you have to come out. And he says, no, I'm afraid of the dog. And then they said, well, your mom's here. And he said, bring in the dog. So it makes me giggle to this day because his mom, he would have rather had that dog come in.
Not my mom.
Yeah, he said, bring in the dog. And so she was able to mitigate that, and they left it with the mom at the time. This was, again, many, many years ago. But I still think about that, and I think about that's a power of a parent.
That is the power of a parent, yes.
Yes, so it makes me giggle. So some of those make me laugh. I lean more into those, but the other ones that were inherently traumatic, they stay in my heart. It doesn't get better, it just gets different.
The edges maybe get rounded a little bit. The corners.
But it always makes me appreciate the now and right now and where I'm at.
Yes.
And that someone is calling right now to our center on a day that's changing their life. And I never forget how we need to do better by them because I want them to think back on that and know that we had their back.
I know I've had to call a few times. Fortunately, not anything with a family member, but just things that I'd see when I was out and about. Mm-hmm. And it has always been, my calls have been received with the utmost professionalism and calmness, right? Because when you're in that moment, you just want to blurt out, I need help, here's what's going on. And sometimes, in that moment and the call receiver is asking the questions like, what color is the shirt? How tall do you think they are? What color are the pants, the hair color, all of those things. And you're thinking, I just told you that. But it's that calmness that will allow the right person to be found, right? If it's a suspect, because how many people could be walking around right now in hoodies and jeans? Mm-hmm. There has to be something else distinctive. Otherwise, police officers are not going to be able to identify that person. There is no probable cause. So it is so important that the call receiver is asking those questions. So if anybody out there is listening and you call 911 and you think you've already said everything, but they're asking you more questions, I know it is a really emotional time for you, but just make sure that you're listening and answering those questions because there really is a reason that you're being asked. So trust the professionals that they are doing what they need to do to ensure the best outcome for everyone involved.
Beautifully said. And it is very frustrating when you're in a crisis and someone's asking you a bunch of questions. I know that's probably very frustrating, but also know that we are using that information and doing something with it. We're not waiting to get all to the end. They are at the same time passing that information on to the dispatchers. The dispatchers are airing it. And it's such a fluid situation that we're not sitting on it and it's not delaying us initiating a response, right? Well, we can't control the response of the field units, right? Mm-hmm. We have to give them, though, the most pertinent information to get the best resource there. And again, we're making decisions split second. This is not a lot of time. And so are the field units. They're driving and looking, and a lot of things are going on. So thank you for highlighting that. And we're also looking at ways to efficiently ask questions and make sure we're not asking people to repeat because we're using it as maybe a stall tactic or things like that. So we do quality assurance every month. And so we're listening to calls saying, hey, they provided this. It may not have been in the order you liked it, but they provided it. So try to think outside the box because it's about the person in crisis.
Right. It's kind of like your coffee order. I say my coffee order a certain way, but that's not the way the person that's taking my order wants me to say it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it sounds like everything is a very well choreographed routine. Routine being, not necessarily a routine day. But do you ever watch any of the shows that depict 911 call receivers or dispatchers? And if you do, what do you think about them? How are they depicted appropriately, or does it just make you cringe when you watch?
It's such a good question. Candidly, I don't.
Okay.
I don't watch them because it's off-putting to me for whatever reason. And without watching it, I can't say if they're depicting it correctly or not. It sometimes triggers me, I think. There was a movie with Halle Berry. I think it was called The Call, and we went to watch it, and I had to leave the theater.
Wow.
It was not because it was bad. It's just because I think you do have to kind of put things in spaces. Now, I'll watch a lot of Dateline and all that kind of stuff, right? But when it comes to the 911, I just don't. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, you're working in it all day long.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be part of your free time. It's like the mechanic maybe isn't his car or her car isn't the best car in the neighborhood, right? Because they don't want to work on a car when they get home from work, or the landscaper doesn't have the best yard, right? Because you want to do something outside of what your work life is.
Yeah,
so.
For me, and I've had a friend of mine say, if they ever do a reality 911, you should do it. I'm like, I don't know about that. There's a lot that comes with that.
Yeah.
You're very vulnerable.
Definitely. And there is something very personal about that time. And you have relationships with the other people that are in the center while you're there.
Yes.
And it is, I could see where that might be a little invasive.
Yeah.
Because you want people to be comfortable when they're doing those
Correct.
roles.
And a lot of 911 professionals don't want to be out in front.
Right.
They don't want to be on camera. They don't want to be out in the field, right? It doesn't mean they don't just hold on to the compliments and the acknowledgement. The acknowledgement that your city, our other mayors, our partner agencies, all of our fire departments and police departments and Medic One, they do so much in recognizing Valleycom that it is really so beneficial to the whole public safety system. Because when you all feel like you're on the same team, you're a better teammate.
You are a better team.
And we're lucky at Valleycom 911. I have friends on the East Coast that run comm centers that are under a sheriff's department, and they're not acknowledged at all. They're underpaid.
Really?
They're not acknowledged. They're treated very horribly, in my opinion.
Wow.
And I am lucky. People say, you have 5 bosses. I'm like, but they're great bosses. They're the best bosses. And so it's never lost on all personnel at Valleycom how lucky we have. We could, I could always do better by supporting. I tell them as much as I can. I give many avenues that they can ask me questions. They can seek feedback. Because at the end of the day, I'm there for them because they're there for you.
You are there for them. And Laura Yulin, who was in your role before you, I was impressed with her leadership. And you have brought a whole new level of leadership, and you've brought your authentic self into that role. And I just see Valleycom getting better and better, and technology is critical in your field. So I feel very blessed to be a part. Right? I mean, I don't run the organization. I couldn't run the organization. But I feel very blessed and honored to be a part of the Valleycom board and to work with fellow mayors of the cities that I mentioned, because we are amazed by the work that you do and by the team that you lead and every one of those team members. Is there anything that we haven't chatted about today that you want to make sure that listeners hear?
I just want them to know that when they do access 911, we are there for them. we are that lifeline. We know it's difficult. We know some of the situations are really very critical, and that everything we're doing has a purpose. So if they could just bear with us and stay with us, we will be there until those units arrive.
Great way to end this segment. Vonnie, thank you so much for joining me today. Your insights into public safety and telecommunications are invaluable for the people who are listening to understand a little bit more, get that real insight. You may watch one of those 911 shows. Can't tell you whether it's accurate or not, but hearing today from you and the human side of what's going on in those call centers is just a great opportunity for people. So thank you for the work that you do. Please share that with your team when you get back, that we are forever grateful for the work that they do in the field that they have chosen as their profession. And thank you for keeping everyone safe.
And thank you for the space to be here today, and thank you for the support and the guidance. It means a lot.
Well, let's keep up the relationship.
Agreed.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vonnie.